Hi everybody, Matthew Turnage here. Well, a few months ago I did a video where I talked about, for the first time ever, I'd bought some Bob Dylan albums, and I had decided as I was going to explore Bob Dylan and kind of, give his solo recordings a fair shake, I decided to start at the very beginning with his first album and go forward from there. My original thought was I'd probably at least go through the 60s, and as I've gotten further into it, I think I'm going to go a good bit farther than that now. But anyway, at the time I did that video, I'd just done the first three albums, and I've been trying to do, an album a month or so, just to kind of get time to kind of get to know it a little bit, get it to settle in, and really, know how I feel about each album as I go through. So as it's been a few months, and I got a pretty good response on that last video, I thought I'd do a little update here on the albums that I bought since that video. So, of course, as I said, left off after the first three albums. The Times They Are Changing was the last one that I had when I did that video. And not too long after I did that, I went and got the next album, which is Another Side of Bob Dylan. And this album I enjoyed. Again, it's still Bob basically unaccompanied, although he does do some piano on this one as opposed to just guitar and harmonica. But some really good songs on here again. All I Really Want to Do, I like a lot. Motorcycle Nightmare, It Ain't Me, Babe is my favorite one on this one. A really good, solid album, but I have to say that I'm not as much into this one as I am the previous three, but still I liked it. I was glad to get it. So then after that came Bringing It All Back Home. And I mentioned this briefly, I think, in my What I'm Listening To video for Sam St. John. I think I'd just gotten it not long before that. This album is really outstanding. I really love this album a lot. It's so far it's my favorite Bob Dylan album, and it as Dylan goes electric, that's kind of hitting my sweet spot. I love the sound of electric guitars, and it almost felt like I maybe I'm overselling it a little bit, but after having those first four albums, that's just Bob with an acoustic guitar and a harmonica and no other accompaniment, getting to full band arrangements and the electric instrumentation on this one, it was kind of like going from in The Wizard of Oz, where they go from black and white into color. That's how it felt to me. I mean, it just opened everything up so much. And again, Bob is really hitting his stride as a songwriter with this one. Subterranean, Homesick Blues, of course. Maggie's Farm is a song that I love. Bob Dylan's 115th Dream is a good one, and It's All Over Now, Baby Blue. Every song on this album is good, but those, just to throw out a few favorites. So this, to date, this is my favorite Bob Dylan album, Bringing It All Back Home. So then a few weeks after that or so, I got the next one, which is Highway 61 Revisited. Again, continuing on with the electric mode for Dylan, and it is another really good one. Not as good to me as Bringing It All Back Home, but it's not too far behind. Of course, Like a Rolling Stone, everybody knows that. Classic on here. It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry. I like Ballad of a Thin Man, Queen Jane approximately, Desolation Row. I'm finding that I like those sort of long epic ones that Dylan puts near the end of the album, usually quite a bit from him. So another really good one, rates pretty highly for me. Not as good as Bring It All Back Home, and probably not as good as Freewheelin' Bob Dylan in my opinion, but it's right up there. And then just yesterday, I picked up Blonde on Blonde. So this one I've only listened to once so far, so you're just getting my immediate initial reaction here. One of the things I talked about, the reason why I'd avoided really getting any Dylan albums, was things about his voice and his singing style that sort of annoyed me a little bit. With this album, I was thinking about it as I was listening to it. Now we're in the full-blown period of Dylan using those sort of vocal affectations that in the past have annoyed me. And sort of it's still a little annoying, but kind of what I'd hoped to happen if I started with him younger, maybe before he's fully formed. As I kind of ease into it, maybe they wouldn't get to me as much. And I think that's happened. I mean, I noticed it a few times in the course of the album, but as I listened to the whole album, I kind of was able to get past that and focus more on the music and the lyrics and things. Of course, the song everybody knows off of here, Rainy Day Women, that's a really good song. The other ones that struck me really on the first listen, Leopard Skin, Pillbox Hat, I enjoyed. I like Dylan's sense of humor a lot. It's one of the things I'm finding as I listen to his albums. Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands. Most likely you'll go your way and I'll go mine. That falls in the category of a number of Dylan songs where I knew a cover version pretty well, but didn't necessarily know Dylan's version very well. In this case, the Yardbirds. I really like their version, but I like Dylan's version too, and Just Like a Woman. So I need to spend some more time with this one, let it sink in a little bit more. Of course, it was originally a double LP, just one CD, but it's a lot of music to digest. So I'm still sort of weighing my opinion on that one. It's generally positive. I like it, but how it stacks up against the others, I won't know until I spend some more time with it. Now, in between Highway 61 Revisited and Blonde on Blonde, I did get another Dylan release, and that is the Bootleg series, volumes 1 through 3. Now, I did say I wanted to go get his albums in order. I don't necessarily have a strict view of a chronology that I have to stick to it, as I approach it. I'm open to, I think the studio albums, I'm going to continue that way, at least for the time being, but other releases, I may pick up here and there as I have the opportunity or interest. I picked this up for 3 reasons, really. First off, in my previous video, a regular viewer, Sharon Evans, had said that I should look into the Bootleg series, that they were good. So I kind of had that in the background. If I saw one that was, especially of the time period that I was kind of getting into, that looked interesting, if I came across it, I might pick it up. So secondly, it is primarily, although it does go, it says 61 to 91, most of, or at least half of the stuff on here is from the period that I've already listened to, the studio album. So it's kind of good to hear some of the alternate takes or tracks that weren't used from that same period, and maybe get a little taste of some of the things I've got coming up. But the third and probably the most important reason why I bought this was when I was in my local record store, I saw that they had this copy for really cheap, and I couldn't pass it up at the price. So this I have really enjoyed quite a bit. The early stuff that I was, kind of familiar with that period already was good. Slots right in with some of those things. That's volume 1. And then as you get into volume 2, you're kind of getting into the period that I'm at now, and a little bit beyond that, some of the electric stuff, which is all good. Volume 3 was really interesting as it gets into some more 70s and 80s stuff, stuff that I'm really not quite as familiar with, even the songs. A lot of the 60s stuff, if I don't know Dylan's version, there's always several songs on the album that I know from somebody else doing it, or I may know Dylan's version. The later 70s and 80s, not so much. So it's kind of interesting hearing some of those tracks, especially the ones that they have on here from like his Christian period. So really enjoyed this as well. I'm definitely going to keep getting Bootleg series here and there, not necessarily go the Bootleg series in order, but I may pick out ones that are from the period that I'm buying the albums, or I've already bought the albums. Like I know there's one for like the Whitmark demos, and there's some live stuff, some early live stuff. So if I come across those, I may pick those up as well. But that's where I am so far on Dylan. I'm going to keep listening to Blonde on Blonde for the next few weeks. And of course, going back and re-listening to the previous ones here and there as the mood strikes me. But I'm going to at least spend a few more weeks with Blonde on Blonde before I move on to John Wesley Harding and beyond. But just want to give an update and let me know what you think, especially on the Bootleg series, if you feel like there's some that I really should look out for, maybe some live releases too. And if you're, let me know if you're interested in me still doing these periodic things. You know, like I said, I'm trying to parcel out those studio albums maybe once a month or once every 3 weeks or whatever, to get a chance to really get to know each one. And so if people are interested, I'll do another update in a few months. But I have to say, I'm really digging Dylan a bit more than I thought I would, and I'm looking forward to moving into the late 60s and beyond. Thanks for watching.